What's up, traders? So today I'm going to show you two different ETFs that pay me every single week like clockwork. And on top of that, we're going to look at some potential trades if I was entering into a trade on them today. And then we'll look at a potential trade within the Moomoo platform. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Rashad. I am a full-time options trader, and I am blessed to be able to pay for my entire lifestyle with the money that I make from trading options. Now, if you could do me such a huge favor and go ahead and smash the like button, that just helps push the video out to more people, and go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. And do remember that this is not financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any equities or options contracts. Now, as always, before I do anything else, I have to share a word from God that has to do with money, wealth, or business. And today's verse will be Ecclesiastes 11:1-2. Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 and also to 8, for thou knowest not what evil shall be upon the earth. And this verse is really just a reminder to be generous with your resources, especially to people who need them. Because the Lord loves a cheerful giver, if you do give freely, typically not only will you get what you gave back, but you'll also get it multiplied. And so when casting thy bread upon the waters, that is telling you that even seemingly lost investments have a way of returning back to you when you are doing good things. All right, but that is the word for the day. I hope that blesses somebody. And when it comes to doing good things in the market, I have to shout out members of the Trade to Freedom community. So first off, we have Hector here. He said, hoping to keep a steady pace of $1,000 a day. And you can see he posted that he made $1,050, and this was actually just yesterday. So shout out to you, Hector. Then Chandra said, thank you, Rashad, for 0 DTE trades, making money consistently with a 100% win rate. FYI, I also do RUT along with SPX. And so Chandra is part of our 0 DTE community, and that is our day trading community. And so that is great for people who want to make money every single day. And then we also have monthly income strategies for our individuals who are a little bit more busy. Then Morgan says, I started July 29th with about $30,000. So it's been about 2 weeks. I've got a small account, but I am up over $444 in just the trades Rashad gives. So shout out to you, Morgan. You jumped in the community. You took some time to learn some strategies, and you've only done a few trades thus far, but you've already made quite a good amount of money. So shout out to you. And then last but not least, we have Terrence, who said closed $1,014 in trades today. Back on the good side, LOL. $1,014 screenshot there. And Terrence has essentially been printing money every single day. So this is not a surprise, but shout out to your continued success, Terrence. Now, if you know anybody who would like to join a cool community, the link to Trade to Freedom is below. You'll get to see my exact trades as soon as I enter them. You'll get my full framework via the Trade to Freedom course. You'll get to ask me questions at any given time. And lastly, you'll be within a community of other traders who all have the exact same goal as you. So if you do know anybody, send them the link below in the description. I would love to help them reach their goals still this year in 2025. So let's do it. Link is below, but let's get down to business. Now, the first ETF out of the two that I use every single week to print cash is BITX, which is a leveraged ETF to Bitcoin. Now, for those not familiar with leveraged ETFs, a leveraged ETF is just an ETF that follows a specific stock or sector, and it aims to move a multiple of what that stock or sector moves every single day. Okay, and so BITX is a 2x leveraged ETF, and so it looks to move 2 times the move of Bitcoin every single day. And so for an example, if Bitcoin is up 1%, BITX will look to be up 2% for the day. And the same works in reverse. If Bitcoin is down 1%, then BITX would look to be down 2% for the day. All right, so it just doubles the daily move of whatever stock or sector that is followed. Now, as I'm sure you know, Bitcoin is near all-time highs because the current administration are actively making changes that make cryptocurrency a bit more useful. And just a few changes that have been made in the recent months are, one, now you can use your crypto balance when you are applying for a mortgage. And even more recently, now crypto can be used in retirement accounts. And so because the current administration is making a lot more use cases for cryptocurrency in general, we could see a lot of gains over the next coming years. And I, as an option seller, want to take advantage of that on a weekly basis by selling puts and covered calls on ticker symbol BITX. And you can ask anybody within the Trade to Freedom community. We pretty much print money off of this ETF nearly every single day. And so let's go ahead and take a deep dive into it. And so currently the stock price is $67. Now, I am recording this video pre-market, and we can see that it is down 3% right as of right now. So it's currently $65. But we can see that if we look at assets under management, this ETF has $3 billion of assets under management. So it is a growing ETF, and it does currently have an 8.75% dividend yield. Now, when it comes to leverage ETFs, they are amazing for short-term trades. And the reason I like to sell puts on them is, one, because a leveraged ETF is a lot more volatile than whatever stock or sector that it follows, the premiums that we receive for selling puts on them will always be greater than the underlying stock. All right, and then two, typically a leveraged ETF is at a much lower stock price than whatever stock or sector that it follows. And so obviously at $67 for BITX, it is a lot cheaper than a price of a Bitcoin. Now, because leveraged ETFs typically rebalance every single day, they typically over long periods of time lag whatever stock or sector that they follow. And so because of that, they're not really great for long-term holds. And also typically there is a decent sized management fee as well. However, for short-term trading, which is exactly what we're using it for, it is a great tool to use. And so let's go ahead and look at the few data points that I like to look at prior to placing any trade, and then we will make a trade within the Moomoo platform. All right, so first things first, I like to look at the Bollinger Bands. Now the Bollinger Bands are these black lines here, but the Bollinger Bands just aim to show you what range a stock is expected to trade within. And so the middle line is the 20-day moving average, and then the top line is 2 standard deviations above that, and the bottom line is 2 standard deviations below that. And so about 95% of the time, the stock will always trade with inside of the Bollinger Bands. And the very few times that it pops out, it always pops back in within usually a few days. All right, and so if we go back all the way to 6 months ago, we can see this period here where it dropped below it, and then it came right back in, and again, dropped below it for one day and came right back in, dropped below, came back in, rised above it, came back in, and that same pattern follows over and over and over again. And so typically you can reasonably believe that a stock, for the most part, will trade with inside the Bollinger Bands. And that can be shown even in today. And so we can see that yesterday it popped above the Bollinger Band, and we can see already today in pre-market, it is coming right back inside. Okay, and so what I want to do is I just want to look for some levels of support, which could be any of these lines below where the current stock price is. And so the nearest level of support would be the middle Bollinger Band line, which is currently at $62. And so we will keep that amount in mind. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the expected move. All right, so now we're looking at the expected moves, and the expected move is just the maximum move that the options market currently has priced in for this stock by a specific date. All right, so the first thing we need to do is select our date. And so when I'm using these leveraged ETFs, I typically go up to about a few weeks out. And so let's go ahead and select this date that is 16 days out from now. And currently the option market has a upward of 11% move priced in, and that will put us at a lower price of $60. And so when I'm looking at the Bollinger Band price, which was 62, and the expected move, which is 60, I typically, if I'm looking to be conservative, will choose whichever number is lower. And so in this case, it would be the expected move. All right, so now we will have the $60 mark in mind. And if you want access to this data, I use barchart.com. They have a ton of advanced screeners and many other things. And I use the data from this site every single day to make the best trades. And if you look at the link in the description below, you can get actually a free 30 days. So go ahead, click on the link, sign up. You'll get a free 30 days, try it out, see how you like it. If you don't like it, get rid of it. But I do believe you will like what you see. So go ahead and try it out. But let's go ahead and head to Mumu and look at a potential trade on BITX. And real quick, I have to give a shout out to the sponsors of this video, Mumu. Beyond just being an amazing platform, they have one of the best promotions I've ever seen going on right now. So if you open up an account right now and put money into it, you can get up to $1,000 in NVDA stock absolutely free just for opening up an account and placing money into it. And so this is definitely something to take advantage of. On top of that, they're offering 8.1% APY on your idle funds that are just sitting. So it makes all the sense literally just to open an account, place some money in it just for these perks alone. But on top of all of that, their mobile platform is next level. Taking a look at their mobile app, so you can see here, you can see a lot of general information such as earnings and earnings calendars and earnings beats and economic calendars. However, what I like most is this investment theme. So if we click on investment themes, here they categorize stocks based on what they're impacted by. And so what I like most is this one that's called Nancy Pelosi Portfolio. Now, if you're not familiar, Nancy Pelosi is a US Congresswoman, and she seems to always select the right stocks right at the right time. And so Moomoo conveniently put all the stocks that she is currently investing in right here on this list for you to see. And so if you just wanted to follow what Nancy Pelosi is doing, you could follow this investment theme in Moomoo. But go ahead, check it out. The link is below in the description. You can get up to 60 free stocks, and you can only get that with this link. So go ahead and click it, and you can thank me later. All right, so now we are in the Mumu platform, And what we want to do is go ahead and look at the exact same date, which was August 29th. And so if we click on that, now if we come over here to the $60 strike that we were looking at, if you take a look over here, it has a delta of 0.20. And for me, a 0.20 delta is usually about the maximum that I go. And you can see that the premiums are amazing. We will get anywhere between $134 to $152 right here, right now for selling this put. And that is well over a 2% return in just the span of 15 days. So about a 4% return monthly. So let's go ahead and sell this put. So I will go ahead and select the bid price, and Mumu will automatically load up the ticket for me. And we can see at the mid price, I'll be getting about $143 right here, right now for opening up this trade. Now, if we look at the P&L curve, we can see where the price of BITX is currently. And if we look at that price right up here where it shows expiration P&L, we can see if the price goes up, we just keep that $143 that we collected. If it stays the same, we keep that $143. If it goes down, we keep the $143. However, if the price were to start dropping below our $60 mark, then we will start making less and less and less. However, we can see our break-even point is right here at $58.57. Well, now, if the stock price were to go below that, well, that's when it starts to become a losing trade. All right, and so the lower it goes, the less and less the contracts will be worth. However, you should only do selling put strategies on stocks that you would actually like to own at the prices that you would actually like to own them at. And that's what takes all the worry out of trading, is because I could care less if the stock price goes up, and I could care less if the stock price goes down. And here's the reason why. If the stock price goes down below our strike price by the expiration date, then we will be assigned the shares, which just means that you need to purchase the shares. All right, and so for every contract is worth 100 shares. And so I would just need to make sure that I have the buying power to purchase those 100 shares per contract. Because what I would do is I would just turn around and sell covered calls against that stock. And so if we come back to the options chain, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this here, and let's assume, since BITX's stock price is currently at $67, let's assume that we had previously sold puts at $70 and we were assigned the shares. Well, if we come back up here and now we look at the $70 strike, because now we can sell covered calls at our cost basis or higher. All right, and so if we purchase the shares at $70, we could turn around and theoretically sell covered calls at $70. And when we're selling covered calls, we are just agreeing to sell the shares of a stock that we already own. And if we come over here and we look at this $70 strike, you can see that right now it would pay anywhere between $555 to $605 per contract. And so obviously that is an amazing return, especially just talking about for a few weeks. And so the real fun actually happens after you are assigned the shares. And so when you are selling puts, you should never be fearful when a stock drops and you are actually assigned the shares if you actually like the company and you like the price that you sold the puts at. Because you can always make a lot more money on the covered call side than you can on the put selling side. All right. And because another way you can make money off of the covered call is the capital appreciation. And so if I were to sell a covered call at anywhere above the $70 mark, not only will I get the money that I made from selling the contracts, but I will also get the capital appreciation of the stock going up to my covered call strike as well. All right, so covered calls are where the money is at. But that is BITX, and that is a stock, like I said, that we in the Trader Freedom community print money from every single week. But now let's look at the second ETF. All right, so our second ETF is ticker symbol TQQQ. Now this is a leveraged ETF to the NASDAQ 100, which is usually traded via the ticker symbol QQQ. And we can see that this is a 3x leveraged ETF, and so it will look to move about 3 times the amount that QQQ moves every single day. All right, so if QQQ moves up 1% for the day, TQQQ will move up 3% for the day. If QQQ moves down 1% for the day, TQQQ will look to move down 3% for the day. And you can see here that it's been on quite the run. So let me pull up the chart here. And after the tariff drama, it hit a low of $35. And since then, it has gone way up and is currently around $94. So it has almost tripled over the last 4 months. Now, before we look at the Bollinger Band, I want to show you that the stocks and the companies that are in TQQQ are the same ones that are in QQQ, which is the NASDAQ 100. And so if we look here, we can see all the biggest companies: NVDA, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Broadcom, Meta, Netflix, Tesla, Google, Costco, Palantir, AMD, and so forth and so on. All right, so the same stocks that they have in the NASDAQ 100 are also in TQQQ. So when you're trading this, you are basically betting on an entire sector. All right, but now let's go back to the chart. And if we look here, I want to follow the exact same process that I follow with BITX. And so I want to look for any levels of support. using the Bollinger Bands or possibly moving averages. And we can see that this middle Bollinger Band line right here is right at $89.81. So I will keep that amount in mind, but now let's look at the expected move. So let's go ahead and use the exact same date that we used for BITX, which is August 29th. And then we can see at the lower price, it has an expected move of $89 as well. All right, so both data points currently show $89. And that sounds good to me. So let's go ahead and head over to Mumu again. So here we are back at the options chain. So let's go ahead and select the August 29th date. And if we look at that $89 strike, the premiums look amazing. However, if we come over here to the delta, it says that's a delta of 0.25. All right, and so that's a little high for my blood. However, when I had a smaller account and I was trying to aggressively grow it, I would go up to a delta of 0.30. And so in this case, let's assume that that is you at this moment and you are looking to aggressively grow your account. And so in this case, the 0.25 delta would match your criteria. And so let's go ahead and use this, and we can see we'll get anywhere between $147 to $174 for selling this put right here, right now. And so if I go ahead and click on it, we can see at the mid price, I will receive about $160 per contract right here, right now. And so from here, you can come over and adjust your contract sizing. And the amount of contracts you do is based off one, how large your account is, and two, your risk tolerance for this specific trade. But let's say in this case, I wanted to do about 5 contracts. So I'll go ahead and boost it up to 5. And we can see my max profit will be $802 that I would receive right here, right now. Now, when it comes to exiting the trade, typically I will exit a trade anywhere between 50 to 80% profit. All right. And the reason for that range is I'll exit at 50% if I see better opportunities in the market. However, if I don't, then I'll allow the trade to run a little longer until I get to that 80% mark, and I'll go ahead and close out at that time. Now, if you have a smaller account, you could easily just turn this into a credit spread. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details about credit spreads. You can look at a few of my past videos for that. However, in general, what a credit spread will do is, one, it will lessen the amount that you make. However, it will also lessen the amount that you need in order to put on the trade to begin with. And so just for an example with this, so we were selling puts and we can see that we would have needed about $43,000 to put on this trade in a cash secured account. However, if we were to just turn this into a credit spread, and so all we need to do is we sold to open the $89 put. And so we need to buy to open any strike price below $89. And so let's say we're going to do a $10 wide credit spread for this example. So I can come up here and I can buy to open the $79 put. And so I'll go ahead and select the ask price here. And now Mumu has loaded up our ticket for us. And so we can see for this exact same trade with 5 contracts, I will now make $595, which isn't that much less than the $800 I was making before. However, now instead of needing $43,000 to put on the trade, I now only need $4,400 to put on the trade. So nearly 10 times less is needed to make a somewhat similar amount. And so that is the power of putting on credit spreads. And when I had a smaller account, that is exactly what I utilized, was credit spreads and iron condors, which an iron condor is just 2 separate credit spreads placed at the same time for puts and calls. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope this video has blessed someone. I'm wishing you nothing but amazing gains in the stock market and the other areas of your life. And again, if you do know anybody who would like to join the Trader Freedom community, the link is below in the description. But that is it for this video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace!